Hey, what's up, Hail Stalkers? Thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and obviously I'm not on the green screen today. We're doing things a little bit different this afternoon. I'm on location, but no worries. Meteorologist Martin Lowrimore is on the green screen, and he is ready to give you guys an update about Tropical Storm Bertha here in just a few minutes. But until then, we are going to talk about supercells that are coming back to the plains. Yes, we are talking about more storms across Kansas, Colorado, Texas, and Oklahoma, some of those bringing hail today. Of course, the big story today is Bertha targeting the Texas coast, getting very, very close to Houston at the moment. Where will it make landfall? I told you earlier, meteorologist Martin Lowrimore will be here with that information in just a few minutes. And for everyone else across the country, if you're not getting storms today, you are feeling the heat. Temperatures, while they may be bearable right now, we are going to see those temperatures much, much warmer as we head into the weekend. How warm are we talking? We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. Taking a look at your radar right now, we earlier, just a few minutes ago, had a severe thunderstorm warning that was moving just to the east of Raleigh, North Carolina. Now that has been allowed to expire, however, producing at least one wind report from this long line of storms. This area of the country is just one area that we're watching for storms today. We have many more storms to talk about, so let's get into that. Take a look at your graphic for severe weather outlook. This is your Storm Prediction Center severe weather outlook. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 areas across the country that could see severe storms today. So we're talking about hail in Kansas, strong wind across Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. We've got some strong wind across North and South Carolina, and then of course maybe even a tornado threat and some strong wind across the southern portion of Texas thanks to Tropical Storm Bertha. Now moving on to tomorrow, we do have a storm risk for tomorrow. It'll be mainly a hail risk across North Dakota and Minnesota, and a wind risk with that as well. Now we don't have anything on Saturday, but I do think if I were to locate something on Saturday to really talk about, I would talk about Montana and North Dakota. Those are the two areas that you absolutely need to keep an eye on Saturday. And then by Sunday, we've got a risk across Minnesota and Wisconsin, and it does not stop there. On Monday, we have another risk for storms that includes Chicago, Indianapolis, and Columbus, Ohio. So it is just day after day after day of storms across the U.S. Now let's get into what we've seen over the last 24 hours. Before we talk about that severe thunderstorm outlook, let's go ahead and talk about your storm reports. So we saw a lot of wind yesterday, but it really was an overall quiet day. Very, very little to no hail across the U.S. Few severe thunderstorm warnings up in Maine where we expected to see that hail. But for the most part, we did stay severe clear through most of the area, especially across the central portion of the U.S. where that high pressure system has completely taken over and cleared out all of that rain potential. Moving on here, let's go to your hail forecast for today. How much hail are you going to get? Where are you going to see that hail? You need to look on this map for the yellow and orange colors. So what we're watching for here is something across eastern Colorado, maybe even the western portion of Kansas. Oh, there you go. You can see some yellow popping up on the board here. Well, where we're exactly watching for is anywhere just south of Hays, south of I-70, all the way to the southeastern side of Colorado, northern Oklahoma, and the far, far northern portion of the Texas Panhandle. Timeline for this. Actually, I want to back this up a little bit. By 3 o'clock this afternoon, we've got some isolated storms out there. As we head into the 4 or 5 o'clock time zone, we've got supercells that are blowing up across the southwestern portion of Kansas. Then, as we see those storms continue to progress into the evening hours, they become a little bit more clustered, but still looking pretty impressive. More of a wind threat through the overnight hours tonight, and then not too worried about the early morning hours in terms of severe weather. However, a ton of rain coming down across Kansas early on Friday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning. Goodland, Garden City, Liberal, Woodward, all in that hail risk today, but your hail sizes are not looking too impressive. Maybe up to golf ball size hail if you're lucky, but I wouldn't go any higher than that. I think that'll be pretty isolated today. It's just, sitting under that high pressure system, it's going to be really, really hard for large hail to form. But we've got other hazards throughout the U.S. We've got a wind forecast across the southern portion of Texas, thanks to Bertha. South and North Carolina also seeing some strong wind today, and we've got some strong wind across Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas. We've also got some strong wind potential from storms in Oregon, Idaho, and Washington. So we've got a lot of states on the board. But your severe hazards still are not that terribly impressive. Every now and then these storms across South and North Carolina that are ongoing right now will produce some strong wind gusts. We saw tons of reports yesterday of trees down and power limbs down, and we're going to probably see that today just on a smaller scale. One of the most impressive things that we are watching for here is Tropical Storm Bertha, which has sustained that tropical storm strength, continuing to move to the straight west right now, just avoiding that high pressure system that's farther up to its northwest. And to break this down and exactly what's going to happen here, Houston, Victoria, Texas, Corpus Christi, even as far east into Lake Charles, Louisiana, I'm going to bring in meteorologist Martin Lowrimore.
Yeah, we've had a lot of things going on when it comes to Bertha, and a lot of things just in Texas in general have been going on. So before we really dive deep into what we're expecting coming into Bertha, let's talk about what we had earlier this morning. Actually, well, it just went away. There was a 5.1 magnitude earthquake in the panhandle of Texas, and a bit of a fun fact, they haven't had a earthquake this strong in the panhandle of Texas probably ever. There have been a handful around the region, but in the actual panhandle, they have not had one that strong that had been recorded by the USGS. So pretty impressive nonetheless. But let's get into Bertha. We are expecting this to be making landfall right near Houston later today. Now you're thinking, well, Martin, the tropical storms down here. Well, the center of rotation is actually still up to the north. It's a very lopsided tropical storm. Still got some pretty impressive winds around 45 miles an hour. Compared to what we were expecting a few days ago, it's held together much better than forecasts were showing. But a lot of this right here, a lot of these clouds and storms, it's going to be bringing in some possibility of some of that rainfall that could pose a flash flooding risk across just south of Houston and Galveston, past Corpus Christi and down into the Rio Grande. It is expected to pretty quickly die out as it does make its way over land, but you can still see the possibility of tropical storm force winds that's 40 miles an hour or stronger near Galveston, near Houston, and just to the north of Corpus Christi. Imagine it's going to be pretty windy over toward Houston and Galveston as we do get into the next 24 to 36 hours. But the storm surge is also something we need to be talking about because, well, you're like, well, why are we worried about this storm surge behind it? Well, the thing is what a hurricane tropical storm really is a large low pressure system. It moves counterclockwise. So as it does move that counterclockwise, it has these winds that are moving in this direction. So as it gets ahead, which we get on the other side of this tropical system, you have literally winds pushing this water on the backside of this tropical storm, and that's what we're looking at, that storm surge across the southern coast of Louisiana. Now, by the time it ends up getting over land, there could be maybe some storm surge risk from about Galveston to the Texas-Louisiana border, but once it gets over land, that wind really starts dying down, which is the primary driving factor, your wind and that pressure difference, but both those are going to be diminishing pretty quickly once Bertha does get on land. So the storm surge risk is not expected to follow all the way to Houston and Galveston, but still could be seeing 1 to 2 feet of storm surge on the southern coast of Louisiana. And finally, talking about that rainfall totals, we are again seeing pretty widespread 1 to 2 inches across from Corpus Christi just south of Galveston, but right along where the heavier bands could pop in, we could see widespread 3 to maybe 4 inches of rain. I could see local totals getting close to that 4 to 5 inches. So we are looking at that possibility of a flash flood risk. It is isolated. I'm not expecting widespread flash flooding by any means, but again, just south of Galveston, all the way down to almost Brownsville, could be seeing that isolated flash flooding for today. And we're not expecting this to continue into tomorrow. So really, once Bertha does make its way on land, we are expecting it to diminish pretty quickly into a tropical depression, if not end up becoming what they call a post-tropical depression, continuing to weaken, but could give a little bit of rain across the southern part of Texas, which hasn't seen a ton so far. So they could be enjoying some rainfall, but we're going back to Taylor, back to that forecast in just a second.
I appreciate that update. We for sure are, of course, watching this area over the next few days as we continue to watch Bertha move into this area. And of course, we're watching for that flooding risk today. And then we'll be keeping an eye on the strong wind as well risk today. So we've got hail across Kansas. We've got wind and storms in Texas, maybe a little bit of flooding as well, and storm surge, of course, across the southern portion of Louisiana. Everyone else, you guys are staying very, very hot today. We are still under the influence of that high pressure system across Kansas and Colorado, New Mexico and Texas. It is not only hot in these areas, but it's muggy. How muggy is it? Well, what you're looking at here are your dew points. The darker green that you see, especially down to the south, the higher the dew point is. So we're talking about very, very humid conditions, very sticky conditions, very just unbearable conditions. And unfortunately, it's just getting worse. It's not just going to be like this for the next few days, but it's going to be very hot and steamy as we head into the weekend. And this high pressure system not moving away anytime soon. So I'm going to rewind real quick because I want to show you that high pressure system and where it is located. There we go. My graphics just moving a little slow right now. Okay, right over Oklahoma and Texas. Now, this is going to be one of the main reasons that we are going to wildly struggle with those storms in Kansas today. Almost all of the ingredients are there, but this high pressure system is absolutely going to limit the potential for severity in this area. We're going to continue to see this just kind of bounce around between Denver to Dallas to Wichita over to Phoenix over the next few days. And that's what's going to keep the heat in place, and it's going to keep it very, very hot over the next few days. I actually have a heat graphic that I want to jump to real quick. A little out of order here. Take a look at this. How hot are we talking about? Many of us going to 100 on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and even hotter on Tuesday. Take a look at this. We are at like 105 in both Oklahoma City and Dallas next Tuesday. So it's not just warm today. It's hot tomorrow, even hotter on Saturday and Sunday. All right, off my soapbox for now with the heat. I will return to talk about the heat in just a few minutes. But for now, I want to talk about your significant hail model and where we're expecting hail over the next few days. Go up to the north, look for those yellows. North Dakota, Minnesota, yep, you should be watching there for your next chance for hail. That'll be happening tomorrow, Friday afternoon, actually starting on the earlier side of the afternoon. So by about 1 o'clock, we should have our first severe thunderstorm warning. What we're watching for here are going to be these isolated storms right here in the Bismarck area, all the way up to I-29 as it crosses state lines. It'll become more of a wind risk, but storms in this area could go severe, producing some hail. Again, the sizes I'm a little concerned about. I think that we'll have a better chance for larger hail tomorrow compared to today. I would say probably the Fargo, maybe Grand Forks or Bismarck area for your best chances for hail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this at a low chance right now, but as we get better models tomorrow, we're probably going to bump this back up to maybe up to golf ball size hail. Maximum hail size tomorrow, I do think could be up to golf ball size hail, which is what you see on your graphic right here. Other than that, some strong wind across the East Coast tomorrow and across North Dakota and Minnesota. And we have a tornado threat tomorrow. We do. Once again, in the same area as this low pressure system tries to dip down into North Dakota and Minnesota. And then, of course, the high pressure system keeps it farther up to the north. So that's what we're going to see over the next few days. High pressure right in this area. Most storms will go above that high pressure system, anywhere from Washington and Oregon. Not surprised about that. Northern Montana, all the way up to North Dakota, Minnesota, and then eventually back down into the Midwest. So let's go through your severe chances here. Okay, there's no North Dakota's severe weather risk on Friday. We don't have one on Saturday, but I would say probably the Montana, North Dakota area on Saturday. Here's a look at Sunday. We go into Minnesota and Wisconsin, who have gotten hit over and over and over this year. Once again, you guys are back in the storm risk, and then back into the Midwest by Monday. We forecasted this, by the way, just a few weeks ago on our fall hail forecast. We said that as we head into August, most of our severe weather will be in this area, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So I took a break from the heat to talk about severe weather. We're going to go back to the heat now. Here's a look at that high pressure system once again. Now, I will say with this, we've got some strong winds thanks to this low pressure system out in the Pacific. That could cause some fire dangers. Also, the lightning from storms in this area could contribute to fire dangers. as well. So we do have that critical risk highlighted in red across the northern portion of California, southern Oregon, and northern Nevada. Moving on. Any other fire risks to talk about? This area, Pacific Northwest. Moving on to our flood potential. Oops, bring that graphic back up. Our flood potential. So we've got a level 2 risk across Denver and the central portion of Colorado. We've also got a level 2 flood risk in the Kansas City area for today, and then across the southern portion of the U.S. today. What about tomorrow? Ooh, a level 2 risk for St. Louis for rain. You know, the rain is nice. Not everyone's seeing rain. Who's seeing rain? Outside of that high pressure system, we've got rain across the northern portion of Kansas and, of course, across the Carolinas. Let's make this a little bit bigger and let's go back into talking about the heat. Heat alerts for today, you can see highlighted in orange, pink, and red. We've got a lot of heat alerts, mainly across the southern portion of the U.S., but that Pacific Northwest not exempt from very, very strong or high temperatures today. We'll go back. I like this graphic that shows just how hot it's getting for different cities across the country. By the way, we forecast for the entire country, so comment where you're watching from. We can answer your questions. Before we move on to the rest of our heat forecast, do we have any weather questions? Evan is asking, chances for hail later on this month and into August. So we kind of addressed this earlier, but I'll go into it because I think this is a really good question. Thanks to this high pressure system, for the rest of this month, it is going to be parked across the south and southwest. So we're talking about Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, New Mexico. It does not move. Well, it kind of dances around, but it stays generally in the same area through the end of this month. What that's going to do is it's going to push most storm chances to the north. So you can see these areas maybe in yellow where you see this dip in the trough right here. That'll be your best chance for storms across the Midwest, the northern, far northern plains like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Midwest, northern Midwest, all the way into the East Coast. That'll be your chance for storms. You're going to have to get into August, find something to break this high pressure system down before we get storms back into like Oklahoma and Texas, Missouri, and Arkansas. I assume you're asking somewhere in the plains. I'm not quite sure exactly where you're asking for, Evan, but I do think that it'll be at least the next week or two before we get significant storms in this area. We need that high pressure system to move out. Right now, it is an extremely limiting factor. The only exception to that would be some of these mountainous storms. If we can get a decent shortwave coming over these mountains, the mountains will oftentimes amplify the hail risk. And so we can have a potential severe weather, very, very minimal, mesoscale type of situation. But we could have a severe weather event across places like Denver or Colorado Springs, Greeley, Colorado, if we can get a shortwave. But that is not something that we can forecast. No one can really forecast that this far out. That's kind of a day-to-day type of thing. We can forecast these big synoptic scale systems, but it's really hard to forecast those mesoscale systems, the smaller ones, kind of like city by city type of systems. Great questions. Donnie says, watching from Kansas City, my family is in Galveston. Yeah, keep an eye on that flood risk in Galveston, but Kansas City also surprisingly in a flood risk as well. Just a reminder here, you guys are in a level 2 flood risk for today and tomorrow. And what about the heat? We'll go back. This is, I think, like the third time I'm talking about heat here. I mean, that is a really big conversation, weather event that's happening across the U.S., and it's not going to slow down. This heat just ramps up over the next few days, getting hotter and hotter and hotter as we head into the end of the weekend and early next week. Temperatures are well above average for a good portion of the U.S. And how hot are we talking? Look at this, 99 for a high on Friday in Oklahoma City, 83, Kansas City, 92 in Denver. As we head into Sunday, we're at 102 in Dallas, 93 in Memphis, and holy moly, 105 in Billings, Montana. That does not seem right. 100 in Rapid City on Sunday. Sunday and Monday look like the hottest days in the forecast so far. So, do we ever see this calm down? What about into August? Technically, this is a look at July 28th through August 1st. I need to update these numbers up here. But what you need to know is it's going to stay hot all the way through the beginning of next month. And unfortunately, we see a little bit of a change in our extended rain outlook. We are seeing this area of the country stay very, very dry with below average rainfall totals across Oklahoma City, Dallas, Houston, St. Louis, and Chicago, all the way into the end of this month, into the very beginning of next month. So that is something to keep an eye on. We could get some rain for Colorado. Hey, maybe that means we could get a little shortwave in here and get the potential for some severe weather. And there's your forecast. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you guys kind of hopping on with our different type of setup. Martin is in studio, so as always, if you have any weather questions, he can help you on our Facebook and YouTube pages, and I'll be monitoring social media from my side of the camera as well. Obviously not in studio today, but I'll be back here in a few weeks. Thanks for joining us. We will have a forecast for you tomorrow as well. But in the meantime, follow us on all forms of social media. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com or head over to our website, hailtrace.com. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you back here, same time, same place for your forecast.